his usual youthful support too. And we're looking at one of the younger players, Graham Hogg, who's 20. Here's a man who's 33, Derek Fazackerley, leading out Blackburn Rovers. Tremendous applause for them, and this is the Blackburn lineup. It's a team with a remarkable record of longevity in football terms. 8 of those 12 total over 2,000 appearances between them, with Fazackerley tonight playing his 602nd game. In contrast, Simon Barber is the youngest there at only 20. He made his debut back in October '83. Manchester United prefer Gary Bailey in goal. He gets back in place of Steve Pears. He's got the two that he wanted in the middle of the defence, although, of course, there is no Brian Robson, for whom Paul McGrath continues to deputise.
Well, in the absence of that prolific scorer Simon Garner, Rovers are well blessed in still being able to field 2 goal-getters. Belfast-born Jimmy Quinn has more than filled the breach, and the £32,000 Rovers paid Swindon for him looks to be cheap so far. He scored 5 goals in the last 4 matches, including the 2 that knocked out Portsmouth and the 1 that put paid to Oxford United in the last round. But their leading scorer is Chris Thompson with 14 goals, former England youth international. Chris has more than fulfilled his promise since arriving from Bolton in 1983, and the proof's there that Simon Garner is kept as substitute for tonight's game. Well, for United, it's Remy Moses who's interesting me at the moment. His qualities have not always been appreciated by the United fans, but Ron Atkinson's never hidden his total admiration for his effervescent influence on those around him. And in the absence of the injured Brian Robson, Remy has had greater opportunities to stamp himself on the game in the midfield jungle. But among the millions of pounds, if I had to choose United's most valuable player, it would be this young man, Mark Hughes. Discounting penalties, he is United's leading scorer with 16 goals, but has other abilities too, not the least to spot and make chances for other players with his deft touches. At 21, I think he's the next Ian Rush, and one day may fetch bids from Italy of billions of lira. But that won't worry Blackburn Rovers this evening.
I think it's fair to say, Jimmy, that not too much has been worrying Blackburn Rovers of late on this ground. They've only lost twice here in the last couple of seasons. And Ron Atkinson on the right there with his number 2, Mick Brown, knows that his team have a battle on their hands this evening. Although, talking to Bobby Saxton the other day, he feels that Blackburn, in fact, are not playing as well as they were earlier in the season. Looking at the pitch, it's really quite remarkable. It's extremely flat. The players all had a try before they came out. They were testing boots, trying flats, short studs, rubbers, and in the end most are wearing either the flats or the rubbers. But no doubt that it's playable. It's rather curious to reflect that Blackburn Rovers were winning the FA Cup even before Manchester United became Manchester United, in the days when they were Newton Heath, and indeed in the days when these two sides first met in the FA Cup competition. Well, that's what they feel about the man who's taken over from Simon Garner. Scored 9 times in total. 1 or 2 nice banners, and well, they haven't had to come too far from Chorley. Rovers won't fail on the Wembley Trail. Well, these two sides met in 1928 when Rovers won and went on to win the Cup for the last time. They've won it 6 times, Manchester United have won it 5 times. 1875, 1975, the centenary of Blackburn. Kevin Moran on the right, Derek Fazackerley on the left, and a proud young man between them, Robert Carson, who goes to St Edward's School in Darwin, where they also used to once have a Football League side. His big moment is over, but I'm sure he'll remember it for many a day. Courtney, one of the most experienced FIFA referees, a man likely to take part in the World Cup in Mexico next year, talking to another man who hopes to, of course, Norman Whiteside will hope to be there with Northern Ireland. So it will be Manchester United get the game underway, attacking the goal to our left. And they presumably hope for greater accuracy of passes than that one. Got to go back 25 years since they last went out in this round. Although, just to get the statistical information, and for those who worry about these things, if you're a United supporter, this is the 13th time they played in the 5th round since then. First touch for Noah Brotherston, and here's Randall. And I'm sure that Gary Bailey will appreciate the early touch of the ball. Hughes underneath it. Zachary who followed him. Brotherston. And Jim Brannigan turning to give his goalkeeper, Terry Gatto, a touch. Roars of hope. A free kick given against Quinn for the push from behind. Hughes again the target. United a little square at the back then. It's nicely done to Miller. Brannigan. And Brotherston. Oh, what an unfortunate first touch. Ball was out. Put out by Barker. Free kick for that challenge on Rathbone. Mark Hughes, the offender. And the big men are coming forward. There's Quinn, playing Keeley is up as well, and for Zachary. Keeley number 5, for Zachary number 6. Balls comfortably to Kidman. Gordon Strachan. And United for sure are going to be given no time to dwell on the ball. Here's McGrath. Room on the left for Whiteside. Hughes in the middle, McGrath in the middle. Jesper Olsen. Loses to Brannigan. Thompson, just too strong, and understandably a tendency to play the ball too quickly and give it too much oomph. Here's McGrath, players really struggling to settle in any way at all. Zachary didn't know where it was. And here's Whiteside, just too long. It was the Dane who almost got him through. for Olsen, whose recent form has been rather disappointing. Whiteside, who himself has had a difficult season. Offside against Hughes. Bobby Saxon, the manager, is on the right as we look. Barker. No danger, Moses covering. Five minutes of hectic activity, but not too much control. Hughes was held. Zachary had him in a sort of arm lock. John Gibman playing the ball a yard forward. Strachan with the chip up. Moved away by Quinn. Warren. Alveston. Miller. Alveston again. Terry Gano played at Wembley in the Milk Cup final for Southampton against Nottingham Forest. Olsen. Nobody there. What a slip! Oh, what a disaster! Strachan the scorer for poor Rathbone. Oh dear, there was absolutely no danger from the initial header from Whiteside. Somehow Rathbone lost his position, lost his footing, and Strachan really took full advantage. Played through by Olsen. Now look at this, there's nobody anywhere near the defender. He's got all the time in the world, and he just stood on the ball. And Strachan, it was a beautiful little flick with his right foot. 18th goal of the season for him, and United have the lead in the 7th minute. Strachan very quick to seize the opportunity, and it was a lovely shot against the goalkeeper, who was well off his line, but understandably so, because his defender appeared to be in control. But sadly for Mick Rathbone, that certainly was not true. There's John Gibman. Whiteside, beautifully taken off his toe by Fazakerley. Testing moments these for Blackburn. And the United supporters, understandably enough, with a gift like that, feel this is just a stop on the way to Wembley. Whiteside, Brannigan at his back, Olsen on the overlap, covered anyway. Warren. Olsen, who's sat on it. Miller's cross. Barker. Quinn struggling to stay onside. There he is. Good determination from Gidman. Rotherstone. Came off McGrath. Nice play again by Rotherstone and by Elveston. Suddenly, Blackburn seem to have got themselves together. How many of them know that United have indeed led in their last 5 away games and won only one of them. So there may be hope for there for the home supporters. Quinn, Rathbone. Hughes. Came last off Moses. Rovers ball. Rotherstone. Blackburn once again. There will be extra aggression, I'm sure, from him. A tenacious player anyway, but will be so keen to make up for his error. Strachan. Free kick to Rovers. Hughes, who hipped his man out of the way. Again, the big men have come forward, including Glenn Keeley there. And he's looking, and it's a very, very good climb by McGrath. And Gidman left them onside. They all came out except Gidman. But there was an infringement, for which United had the free kick. Very good header under a lot of pressure from McGrath. Probably McGrath's best position is as a central defender, but he's doing a good job in place of Robson. Miller. Randall to Thompson. Corner. First corner of the contest. Coming in the 13th minute of Manchester United's 13th attempt to get through the 5th round. Miller takes, Bailey claims well. One of the Rovers players has stayed down. I think it's Chris Thompson.
Well, how a goal alters the character of a game. It really has changed the pattern, because whereas I'd expected Rovers to settle first in a 0-0 game, as one would imagine early on, under these conditions. Goals don't come easily. You need a great shot or an outstanding movement, some clever skill to produce a goal. The one thing that both managers would be saying to their teams, don't give a goal away, and that's exactly what's happened. It's given United the initiative, but Rovers have really coped well and have fought themselves back into the game and are not really rocked by it as much as they might have been.
Bit of employment for one of the ball boys. I might feel there are gaps on the terraces, but the capacity now limited to 23,400 here because of the Safety of Sports Grounds Act. Match was all ticket. Give and throw. Ballaston. Crowd figure quite a contrast with the record, which you have to go back to 1929, 61,783 in this ground for a cup tie against Bolton. Back header from Whiteside. Here's Simon Barker. Plenty of ground between the touchline and the running track here. Recognise that figure who threw the ball back. It's Jim Furnell, former Arsenal goalkeeper, who is the reserve team manager here. There he is on the left with the greying hair, Simon Garner, Tony Parkes and Bobby Saxton. Moses. Olsen's attempt at a shot. Strachan. And Gano invited to clear rather better than on the last occasion. He obliges. And a bit of holding down by Hogg on Thompson. Brannigan to take it. Quinn coming in for the left. Keady unable to nod it on, which was the obvious intention. Bazakali. Too strong. Oof, got a high bounce though. Hughes. Moran having a little bit of a struggle in the air against Jimmy Quinn. Given against Hughes. Interesting that he had 3 Rovers players around him. Pretty much the target man of the United attack. That's a better header from Moran. Although it was knocked down, it was knocked into space. And chase that, says Goodman. Olsen and Brannigan. Hogg, McGrath. That's a good early ball from Ulverston. There's man with 3 cup medals, 2 winners, 1 losers. For Ulverston. But he's got no chance of collecting that pass from Olsen. Geno defending the Blackburn end of this ground as we look at the Darwin end, the far end. Olsen, good running by Hughes, who looks very sprightly. Oh, superbly done. Right on the edge too. McGrath, Moses were behind him. Randall. Wilson obviously shouted for it because McGrath pulled out. Whiteside, a lot of the ball in the air. Brotherson coming back to help. Barker. Oh dear, they are playing a little dangerously though, Blackburn. Finally get it away to the huge relief, I'm sure, of Rathbone. Green on, gets it back again from Thompson. Needed somebody right side, there was nobody there. 4 players bunched down the middle, no width on the attack. Rovers ball. Flag up. The ball was out. The Rovers will certainly be popular with the traditionalists. They've made no change at all in their shirts. Black and white halves. Blue and white, I should say. Strachan with no chance of going onto it. Had he done so, the whistle would have gone for offside. It's a side very conscious of its history and trying very hard to get back to the First Division, whence they came in 1966. Rathbone. Keeley. Curiously, the back four, which has played together so well this season, the Rovers' back four, have been obviously affected by the early error from Rathbone. A number of occasions they've not really been covering. Halfway through the first half, and if you've just joined us, United lead by a goal to nothing, scored by Strachan after Rathbone was unlucky enough to step on the ball. Whiteside. Good first touches. Keely's clearance to Thompson. Oof. Accidental, but it was certainly felt by Moses. Olsen goes to join the front line, and indeed McGrath makes it 4 just outside the area. Had gone, or had waved. Rathbone, chased by Whiteside. Crowd thought the challenge was a little late, but I'm not sure that that's fair. He's a very combative player. Brotherton, beautifully done. Ball Strachan completely. Rathbone. I wonder if we see more of Brotherton going at this defence. Certainly has the skill to do so. Quinn under the ball with Hogg. Rovers throw. Rovers roar. Rathbone's cross. Thompson. Still in. Well, I don't wish to take sides, but certainly a Rovers equaliser would put this match really on the board. Strachan. Harry Bailey, little trouble as yet. And Hughes backing in on Keeley. He's losing out to the referee's whistle quite often. Kidman covering well across the back. Thompson and Barker, the two who were threatening. Stoic for Zachary in front of Bailey. Barker coming forward as well. Bailey coming for it, just got a touch. Well, that's the first time he's really been extended in any way on his return to the side after missing 4 games. Hughes. Really good vision, Mark Hughes. He holds the ball up front, he's aware of other people's movements, he's done it again, finding Moses, although that was the easier ball than the one he played earlier to the fullback. McGrath, pushed by Brannigan. It was a very smooth turn though by a big player. Moses leaving it to Alverston. Hughes and McGrath on the right side, coming in together. Brotherton. Quinn. Hogg. Booze for a back pass in that position, indicative of the feelings of the Rovers supporters. Things have not yet gone their way. Now what can Miller do with this? 2 to take on. Corner off McGrath. Again, 2 players in the 6-yard area. Header going the wrong way. Keeley. And a bit of a struggle for United to get it away. Thompson. There's Randall. Free kick against Whiteside. Foul on Colin Randall, who began his career at Coventry. It's Brannigan, who came here from Huddersfield. Eight players forward for Blackburn. And nodded on. Out by Hogg. Miller, a little too conscious of the noisy onrushing feet of the fullback Alverston. We've had a third of the contest, and the first division side lead the second division side by the only goal. Miller, Brannigan. Not really sure why he let it go so far and then had to dig it out. Barker. Rotherston. Rathbone outside him. Barker. Two for company. Just the throw. And Hughes looks at Mr. Courtney, with the referee quite unmoved. Good to see John Gibman, incidentally, looking so confident in the right back position. He's had a struggle to get the place. Rotherston shot, but well wide. It's the only international on the side, Noah Rotherston. 26 caps for Northern Ireland. His next one is likely to be against England. Kidman, chased by Quinn. Rotherston. Parker, quick to seize that, but then forced to play the ball really before he had it under control. It's United throw. Strachan. Two minds were Miller and Brannigan. Randall, Brannigan. Not a good clearance. So easy to say, but so difficult to do, but really Blackburn have got to calm themselves a bit. Oh! And he's going to have a chase, but he'll make it. That was a real heart-in-mouth job. Big occasion proving too much for a number of their players, and that must have been a worrying moment for Geno. I think he was confident he was going to collect it. These days goalkeepers so keen to play it first with their feet so they can use their area. Barker. And United are running the middle of the field. I think it's fair to say that the division difference between the two sides is plainly obvious in this first half. Barker. Olsen. Whiteside, foul by Brannigan. Tackle from behind, which certainly made contact with the back of the ankle. Two down the middle, Hughes on the right side, Olsen on the left side. Olsen. Barker. Quinn. Needed too many touches. Randall. Free kick given.
Well, you can see the struggle that Blackburn are having given away that rather silly goal. There haven't been many chances. In fact, that was United's only pop at the Blackburn goal. It's a ground on which it's difficult to create, and the one thing to do is not to make mistakes, as I said before. It seems as if United have really learned from Blackburn's mistake, and at every opportunity are just not taking chances and lashing it into the crowd and everywhere, because that suits the conditions tonight. Thank goodness there isn't a wind. The one that most of us were woken up by in the night has blown away. Otherwise it would be difficult, but they've got an uphill battle because they've committed the unforgivable sin, but they're still battling at it.
So a little over 9 minutes of the first half remaining. Quinn had moved too soon. Offside flag. Keeley. Randall really went nowhere near winning the ball. And Hughes was pulled then. And he gets a free kick in his favour. And McGrath joins the front line again. On the left as we look, number 7. Hugely effective in the air. Brotherston. Barker. Took a bit of time. Brotherston a bit cross with himself. His determination won it back. This is Thompson. Miller. Aberston very quickly to him. The slice finds Rathbone. Quinn. 2 in the middle, marked by 3. Brotherston. Miller did well. So did Hogg. Kozakali have put it back. Miller. Needs help. Close quarters, surely. Did the only option that he had, or played the only option he had. And allowing Brannigan to take a long throw, if he feels so inclined. He doesn't. Miller. Brannigan. Well, enough to force Bailey to move his feet very quickly. I suspect he had help from behind, or maybe I do him an injustice, he may well have been aware that there was nobody coming in. Cross really not quite at the angle that was required. Rathbone. Brotherston. Usually has pretty close company now, Brotherston. Slight indecision there, though, by United. McGrath and Hogg, who misread each other's intention. Free kick against Keeley. Indeed, the challenge affected Hogg a bit because he just got to his feet again from a knock on the ankle. There he is, just to the right as we look. Brannigan, Miller. Nice header from Quinn. I think that was handball. And the linesman on this side confirmed it. Two linesmen, Mr. Turner and Mr. Curtis, from Skipton and Sheffield respectively. Seven forward. Five minutes of the first half remaining. Don't think that was intended, but it worked. Vasakali who came forward. Brotherston. Strachan is usually tucked in to make life very difficult for him. He's always had to take on two men there. Barker, Brotherston. Quinn. Thompson! Good save by Bailey. Excellent goalkeeping by Gary Bailey. The first time he's really been called into action, except for one cross. He was off his line with great pace. Linesman waved his flag for a minute, but then pulled it down, and the referee meantime gives a free kick. Strachan. Kidman. I suppose the manager, Ron Atkinson, must feel that his decision justified in preferring Bailey. I wish to say whether Steve Pears wouldn't have done just as well, but it was an excellent piece of goalkeeping. It's United throw, which Kidman comes lolloping forward to take. Keeley. Nicely held up by Quinn. Blackburn want to have more of that. Rathbone. Nothing will go right for him. Play by Fasakali. Brotherston. Handball by Moses. And not too much love lost between the two. Well, Valentine's Day has passed. Keeley is forward. Urgent Blackburn in the closing moments of the half. McGrath won it in the air again. Quinn's attempt, but by no means mighty. Hughes. Strachan through the gap. Fasakali closes it. Brotherston. Kidman on patrol. Thompson in the middle. Good catch again. And good use of the ball too by Bailey. Well, I would have thought that came off the leg of Whiteside, but the linesman doesn't agree with me. Nice little trap by George Courtney. Strachan hanging back, and now Gibbon becomes the right winger. Offside. Gets Hughes. Barker. We're now playing the odd moment of stoppage. There was one injury as far as I can remember. Here's McGrath. McGrath is being booed, only the Rovers supporters would know. And their team has a test right at the end of the half. Ball has gone for the corner. It's United's first. They'll have to be quick about it if they're to have time to take it. 3 men on the near post. Little bit of a pat and grab. Gano survives. But he's been beaten once. Unluckily, when he was coming forward out of his goal, the goal scored by Gordon Strachan in the 7th minute of the match, after poor Rathbone had stepped on the ball and suddenly turned a position of no danger into a threat that was realised, and the lead for United made...
Barry Davis again.
And Ron Atkinson at the back, and with good reason to feel pretty pleased at this stage of the game. And 1 or 2 interesting types of headgear. One red devil there with a face, I must say, that looked remarkably like that of George Best, but I can assure you that it wasn't. And Blackburn Rovers, their supporters, ever hopeful, and they'll be hoping that Ron Atkinson will be bringing his team down to play them at Ewood Park next season in the First Division. Blackburn trying to make their way from, I suppose, the heartland of football that's seen so many ups and downs. It's interesting to reflect that the first game that was ever played on this ground was against a team called Accrington, of course, no more in the Football League. Darwin were there once and they've gone. But Blackburn certainly prospering where the Boltons, the Prestons, the Burnleys and the Blackpools are not having such a good time. But can Blackburn do something about a 1-0 deficit in this 5th round of the FA Cup of 1985? Barker and Brotherston. There's no width again. Hughes had a good first half. Attempt to get the ball through to Jesper Olsen, who certainly, the Dane, does not play for United the way he plays for his country. I don't mean that to his discredit, I mean in the way that United play him. Chris Thompson didn't look. Neither did Miller. Now Olsen. Hughes. Showed good pace. Keeley keeping very calm. But he's found that a free kick has been given against him for obstruction. We've already got a bit of smoke in the goal mouth before the kick is taken, but that's real smoke. Somebody's thrown a firecracker or thunder flash, call it what you like. Whiteside clears it with his left. Strachan will take the kick. Everybody on the far post at the moment. Hogg, Hughes and Whiteside looking like 3 sprinters on the starting box. Hogg goes on the near, Hughes on the far, a bit of climbing by McGrath. Free kick given against, I don't think against Whiteside, but the man who came from behind him. Rotherstone. Miller. Barker. Quinn. That's well done by Barker. Got his body in front of the player rather than just opting to nick it out. Bit of pushing by Graham Hogg. Keely's first opportunity of the half to take a forward position. Brannigan to take the kick. Keely centrally placed. Quinn to come from the left. And McGrath Road. Barker, it's a bit static. Nobody moving for him then at all. Hughes. How well played once again. Rotherstone. Rotherstone. Good use of the sole of the boot, created space for himself. Away by McGrath. Certainly they're attacking him, McGrath, in front of the back four. He's been very, very useful with his head. I'm not sure that it will be he who will lose his place when Robson comes back. Rotherstone. Bailey comes for it. Only half made it. Barker. Smack in the face for Strachan. It's just the throw. Moses. Halberston. Well up by Whiteside. Demi Moses. Hughes. It's a rare mistake from him tonight. And Blackburn had the free kick. Hughes really put the defender under pressure. After up to that point being the perfect target man. He's held it up so well and used it so well until that occasion. Brannigan. Keely and McGrath. Good climb by Hughes, gave it air, gave it distance. For Zachary. A bit of looking for the ball going on, in terms of not being sure where it is. By Barker. Moses was at full stretch. Nobody on the left side, forced him to turn. Balance really just doesn't seem to be right when they attack. Rotherstone coming inside quite often to look for the ball. Might prosper more if they can allow him to play wide. Strachan. That's good play, Whiteside. And Quinn doing a good marking job. Strachan again. Just didn't give it enough to get it past Keely. It's a contradiction of physics. What is that, you seem to be saying? And the answer is that it's my flag and it's a Blackburn Rovers flag. Good flick by Strachan. It's too strong. Well, what a good buy he's proved to be for Manchester United, coming to them instead of going to Cologne. Top scorer on the club with 18. And such a busy little player can suddenly transform the game with an injection of pace to which he allies considerable skill. Poor clearance, but offside against Whiteside. He moved too soon. Wouldn't have counted. His anticipation was too good then, the young Irishman. Saw the poor clearance very early, but moved just too soon. The Rovers substitute. Referee called that as nothing in particular. Hughes has been backing in a lot. He's been standing his ground. Fazakerley. And Ghana will be on shortly, I would think. Who's been top scorer here for 4 seasons, making his debut in '78. No problem for Ghetto. Quinn down the middle. Chase for Miller and Alverston. Goal kick. Raw greets every corner. Thompson and Barker are in the 6-yard area. Keeley really launched himself at the ball. And Kidman didn't stand on any ceremony. On comes Quinn, beautifully picked up. Good early cross that, and it was curling away from the goalkeeper. He really picked it up quite superbly. Fazakerley, now in his 15th season here. And his debut back in 1971. Seen a few ups and downs and a few managers too. They change roughly every 3 years. Miller. The ooh indicative of how close that was to going through. I think that really Rovers could do with pushing Miller forward more on the right. Got to gamble a bit, surely. Thompson. McGrath. Well, it was Miller who supplied the cross. It was curling away. Quinn got in front of two defenders, and the goalkeeper really claimed it quite beautifully. The defenders having pulled away to cover Gary Bailey. He's really been involved twice, the United goalkeeper, but on both occasions extremely sharp. Quinn. That's looking for Miller. Randall who supplied the ball. And from it, a corner is won. Well, that's rather the observation that was made a few seconds ago. They push him forward and maybe Brotherson on the other side. Maybe a bit old-fashioned, but it would be good to watch and may well be productive. Again, the ball won in the air by McGrath. Keeley. Shot came from Randall, but it was a bit disappointing. Oof, dear. Quite accidental, and Whiteside has shrugged it off already. Hughes. United's corner. Right down in front of their flag-waving faithful. Strachan has gone to take it. 3 players in the 6-yard area. The back flick, side netting. Hogg immediately back in defence. Offside. Maybe is as well, because if play had continued, they'd have gone into the fire zone. There's still a cracker burning to the right. I'm surprised that Mr. Courtney doesn't want it removed from the pitch before play continues, but apparently he's unconcerned. Certainly the referee's action. Not encouraging anybody to throw another one. They're not having any effect on the game. It still would be a bit dangerous if somebody sat on it. And Hughes capable of doing anything. He met that absolutely cleanly and sent the firecracker right into the boards. By Fazakerley. McGrath made it his. Moses. Might have gone anywhere. A kill by Mark Hughes. Oh, a pace! Tried for the narrow side. But what a fine piece of play again by the Welshman. Took on his man. Look at the change of gear here. Through the gap. Geno came forward to meet him. Got his angles right. Didn't in fact have to touch it. Blackburn. No real challenge then from Barker. Rotherston. I think the injection of new blood into the Rovers side must come soon. It's obviously coming very soon. Strachan. And it's a straight swap of striker for striker. Jim Fennell holds up the number 9, which means that Chris Thompson will be replaced. So it's a different partnership. The season started with Thompson and Garner. Then Quinn replaced Garner, and the crowd rather got at Garner during that spell when he couldn't find the net. And now it's Quinn and Garner. And Simon Garner has 26 minutes to try to change the course of this contest. Rotherston. Barker. Square ball was on for Randall, it took a bit too long. And Garner battling from the start. Not too strongly for Mr. Courtney's liking. Brannigan gave away possession immediately. Strachan looking for Whiteside, away by Keeley. That's a good header by Quinn. And all credit to Gibman. How quickly he got goal side of his man. Rotherston. Gaining ground, Rathbone. Brannigan. Really just a prod down the middle. Zachary again with the knock down the middle. Quinn. And he's got all their goals so far. 2 in the replay against Portsmouth, and then the winner with his head against Oxford, just on the stroke of half-time there. Manchester United have reached the stage by getting past Bournemouth 3-0 and Coventry 2-1. With Hughes up front, there's always a threat of a breakaway. Get given Rovers' way. Hogg goes back with Quinn and lets him go. take Ghana instead. Keeley being looked after by Paul McGrath. Well won by Moran. Miller. Instinctive header by Moran. Well, the pressure is coming from Rovers. Can they find the breakthrough? Barker. Ghana blocked by Hogg. Corner number 7 for Blackburn. Keeley and Quinn. Quinn's header it was. Good distance with the punch. But all Bargano in the United half. Brotherston. He's got to be quicker and truer with his touch than that, and dare I suggest it, slightly more determined. Away by Whiteside. He was intended, I think, to flick that over his head to Jesper Olsen. Strachan. Barker. Time for Keeley. But it's an up and under again. Which finds Rathbone. Goal kick. Well, he's trying so hard to make up for his error. Late, I should tell you that the error was to stand on the ball in the 7th minute and allow Strachan to take a goal with a superb touch, but even so there was no threat until the stepping on the ball. Here's Miller. It's becoming a good contest down that flank. Randall. Ghana. Barker. And it's gone loose! Saving header was by Moran, and it's bouncing all over the place. Dear, oh dear. There was very little confidence then, and Bailey gets away with a mistake, because he started it. Minutes left, and Manchester United rather sitting on the 1-goal lead, which is a surprising policy on the side of their attacking ability. They're in danger of losing the initiative because the crowd are certainly willing on the home side. But is their team good enough to give them the answer they want? That's better from Brotherston. Oh! The header from Quinn straight at Bailey. But again, surely the example of what Blackburn have got to do. When they've attacked the fullbacks on the outside, they've had a certain amount of joy. Good strong header, but straight at Bailey. Keeley. Flick from Olsen. They were living dangerously a bit then. Hogg's clearance. McGrath. Olsen. Exciting player when he plays for Denmark, Jesper Olsen, but just getting the odd touch here, the odd tuck in. Ghana. Miller. Olsen doing the defensive work. Strachan. Good run, beautiful run by Hughes that created the gap. Strachan going in on his own, fooling Rathbone, waiting his moment. Geno a bit lucky. And it comes to nothing for the moment at least. Here's Olsen. Keeley. That was a great example of how you can contribute so much by running off the ball. Because Hughes, by running off to his right, suddenly created the space. Rutherford. Quinn. Pretty canny with his head. Miller. Brannigan inside. 3 down the middle. Quinn. Barker. Quinn. Oh, and Garner over the top. And 1 or 2 red faces in the United defence. But it was a fine opportunity. Ball bounced a little bit their way. Came off Barker here and the defender. Just a touch, I think Quinn got there. And Garner with the left foot struck it over the top.
Well, indeed, you can hear the excitement now. You may have been sitting at home complaining it wasn't a classic, but it is a cup tie at this point of time. The sound is marvellous, the stadium's alight now. Rovers are looking for that one goal that will mean £150,000 into football's coffers, never mind anything else. So perhaps we should all be on their side with that one. But it is a cup tie now, and Rovers can perhaps grab that goal that they need to take them to a replay.
Spoken like a football director. Gary Bailey quite happy to keep possession for a moment. Hughes. Whiteside waited his moment. Mark Hughes again. Crisp shot. Quinn. Miller. Robertson has to look. Brotherston. Little arrogant chip forward. Didn't really get him anywhere. He was arrogant and stylish, but maybe not with the determination that was needed on that particular side. Didn't give the receiver too much to feed on. United ball. Keeley. Well, United have survived one storm. Can Blackburn blow up another? Free kick given against Whiteside. Jimmy said at the start, United have never won here. This is the 5th FA Cup meeting. They haven't been successful in the previous 4, which were all a long time ago. Blackburn had the free kick. Brotherston. Oh, Ghana. It was so obvious but so successful. The cross from Ghana rather close to the goalkeeper. Hughes. Geno available. I must say the start of the second half is suggesting that United have become rather aware of the way they've given things away. On 2 occasions that we've seen them giving away a 2-goal lead in league matches. Rather more open style, giving the other side opportunities, but balance of play has been Blackburn's in this second period, and certainly in the last quarter of an hour. Brotherston. Mick Rathbone. Basil, as they call him at the club. That's because of the old actor. Barker to the right of Rathbone. Brotherston doing the running bit, nobody else offering. Now Ghana does. Won by Hogg, shot on the turn by Quinn. Olsen. Olsen a bit quicker than Whiteside, both with his running and with where he put the ball. Even so, it was quite nice to see the Dane in possession, running at defenders. Strachan, Gidman, oh, and the flag is being waved, and Strachan actually held on to Brotherston, and the temper of Scotsman and Irishman was, for a second, a little fractious. Ten minutes left between United and a place in round 6, the first to get there, of course. Hughes, rare occasion, took too long. Whiteside seems to be making the point to him. Miller. Whiteside. Olsen. Strachan. Well, it should have been. Brotherston. That's more like it. Handball. Kevin Moran reverting to the game that he used to play in Ireland, Gaelic football. Mick Rathbone to take. 5 Blackburn players on the 18-yard line. Keely's in the van. And Olsen. What a cute turn. Brannigan. One by Moran and one well. Whiteside galloping to the right. And inside for Hughes. Now he punched outside or inside or played the player or what. Mr. Courtney is pointing to the spot. Saw that as a punch on the on-rushing Hughes. Oh yes, the foot was up. The hand made contact with the face. The referee had A look at the linesman, and a penalty is the verdict. And Gordon Strachan to take it at the opportunity of his 10th successful penalty of the season. And with it will come the certainty of a place for Manchester United in the last 8 of this season's FA Cup. Discussion between Tony Parks and Bobby Saxton. Hughes being booed as he gets to his feet. Nine from 12 he's got for United up to this point, Strachan. And it's 9 from 13. With what he will know better than anybody else was a bad penalty. There is surely no excuse for playing a penalty high into the top corner against the goalkeeper of Geno's size. You're lessening the odds to do that. To play it on the deck must increase them. And as a result, Blackburn are still in business. Away by Moran. Strachan. Kidman. Whiteside. Hughes. Strachan. Whiteside. Plenty of United players forward. Remy Moses. Six minutes to go. Which is going to be allowed to boil until it's dry. Far by Whiteside. Chesting Rathbone. And Fazakerley goes forward, as does Keeley. Front line of 6, 2 just behind them. Brannigan in the centre circle and Geno right outside his area. We've had a by Randall. Quinn. Miller with a little bit of space, which Alverston quickly closes down. Got round the back again. Keeley. Goal kick. But it's so lovely to see when a winger does that. Takes on his man, goes to the goal line, as it should be called, not the byline, and the header from Keeley, wide of the angle of post and crossbar. But Ian Miller's done it 2 or 3 times, and it's offered hope to Blackburn, but hope yet to be realised. Olsen. Keeley won it again, and he's had a good match in both boxes. Oh, Hughes. What on earth was that? 4 minutes left. They're all going forward, all bar the kicker and Rathbone. And of course Geno. On by Keeley. Quinn. Brotherston. Oh, he's turned into trouble, I'm afraid. United ball. There's a good shouting contest going on the bench. Garner. Kidman. Too strong. Popular in the Blackburn end of the ground. They look with eagerness. Randall takes. Turned away by Whiteside. Brotherston. Banged away by Hogg. And here's Rathbone. And with Strachan behind him, I wonder if he knew it. Whiteside. McGrath saw it early. Good pace, good control. Or was it? Yes, it was. It was bouncing horribly for him. And Ron Atkinson on his feet on the touchline as he knows his side have gone through. And I think the best thing I can say about Paul McGrath in this instant was really that he did as well as Brian Robson would have done. 2 minutes remaining, and United are there, and doesn't he know it? They've had a few alarms during this second half. They've survived them, and Blackburn now know that they're out. Really good piece of play by Paul McGrath, man who got the winner against Coventry in the last round. And he's now scored the goal which has ended the challenge of Blackburn. This was Eckley. Brotherston. Just too far. Into the last minute. As Blackburn still strive to gain something tangible from the match. It's been a good second half, a real cup tie. Partly because United seem to me to sit back on it, but also partly because Blackburn showed very much more than they showed in the first period. Brannigan's kick. Barker. Miller. Lofted on the wind. Strachan. Quinn. The big man loses to the little man. The linesmen both indicating time is up on their watches. Courtney has one look at his watch. They don't care behind that goal. The supporters know that they're there in round 6. Standing to enjoy the final seconds. There's no fear there anymore. We could do without that. Goal kick. Mr. Courtney has watch in hand. Looks at the one on the wrist, and the whistle goes. And an expression of delight from the Manchester United manager as his team go through into the 6th round, having won by 2 goals to 0 in spite of a penalty miss by Gordon Strachan. Paul McGrath wrapping the whole thing up with an individual goal worthy of the England captain in whose stead he's been playing. Final score, in spite of the brave efforts of Blackburn during the second period, Blackburn Rovers 0, Manchester United, to the delight of their supporters to our right, 2.
Come on, City! With Man City!
Look at that excitement. It turned into quite a night at the end of the day, Phil.
Yeah, it's exciting. You thought Blackburn might edge back into it, but United were always dangerous, weren't they, breaking away, and then sealed it late on there, really.
And Strachan made his mark at the start and right the way through the game, really.
That's right. I think I've seen him a few times this season, but that's the best game I've seen him play for United. He controlled it, laid it off well, apart from then he had that great run, the goal, apart from the penalty miss, which he
well, let's try and have a look
about,
at, some people may not have seen that excitement. Let's try and have a look now at Strachan's performance through the evening. And this was the penalty incident here. Whoops-a-daisy. Strachan not involved in that, of course. But on the other hand, he now steps up to take the penalty. It's a side footer, and I wonder whether television, because it shows so many penalty takers taking penalties, can be held responsible for some of the misses, but you can argue that one out. And of course, here was perhaps the moment of the game for me, a lovely run, full of confidence to take it. Now you see how he accelerates with the ball away from the opponents there. It's a 1-against-1 with only the keeper to beat. We've seen a few of these missed recently, and we see another one.